The House could vote as early as today on the Republicans' debt ceiling proposal, but our next guest says he fears only a stock market crash will break the partisan stalemate. Joining us now, Senior Financial Services Committee member, Democrat Jim Himes. And Congressman, who would be blamed? If I know who you'd like to blame, the GOP and the Republicans in the House, but who do you think the American people would blame? Kevin McCarthy or Joe Biden, President Biden?
Yeah, I think on balance, the answer to that question is most people will blame the Republicans. And I say that because, and by the way, there will be plenty of people who just say, oh, my God, Washington can't do anything, and a pox on both their houses. But the American people saw during the 4 years of the Trump administration the debt ceiling raised 3 times. Now, they may not have seen it because guess what? The Republicans under President Donald Trump did not do this. They did not say, let us achieve these dozen policy objectives or we will wreck the economy. So, blame, of course, is not the critical element here. The damage that can be done in the capital markets and the damage that can be done to the real economy is the critical element. But, we've seen this movie. I've been doing this for a little while now. We've seen this movie a bunch of times. And usually it is, the American people realize that this is a ridiculous, dishonest, and dangerous enterprise, and it shouldn't be used as a negotiating tool.
Congressman, you were around for this. It was 2019. I'm looking at a CNN article. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said late Tuesday she's seeing progress in her twin budget and debt negotiations with Treasury Secretary Mnuchin. That was one of the times during the Trump administration that you're alluding to. And then there's actually another time where we were engaged. Speaker Pelosi was engaged with the Trump administration negotiating parts of the budget during the debt ceiling. It's happened before.
Well, we do negotiate the budget. That's what our job is.
This was during the debt ceiling.
Core of our job.
You heard what I said, twin talks. Twin talks between the...
But at no time did Nancy Pelosi or the Democratic leadership say to the president, unless you agree to our demands with respect to the debt ceiling, we're not going to raise it. That was never, ever said. It was never said in the 4 years of the Trump administration. Of course we negotiate the budget. We negotiate the budget hard. That's fair. By the way, if the Republicans want to try to pass a bill which achieves all of their objectives that they've got in this McCarthy bill that was finished up at 2:30 in the morning last night, fine, let's do that. That's our job. What is not our job, and the American people get this, is to have one party say, we've decided that we're going to take this hostage, and unless you pass our objectives, even though you've got a Democratic president, we're going to wreck the economy. That was never part of the deal.
You do have some colleagues that I don't know whether they're getting anxious about what we were talking about, the blame game and how it works. But here's another article just from a couple of days ago. House Dems call on Biden to meet with McCarthy on debt limit. And they mentioned Debbie Dingell of Michigan and Landsman. He's Greg Landsman of Ohio. He's a first-termer, I think. Of course, Senator Joe Manchin has been outspoken on asking the president to talk to McCarthy. And then Jared Moskowitz. I mean, they've got a whole slew of people that you work with on your side of the aisle that think there should be some negotiation. If the Republicans successfully pass something today, do you think that then the administration should engage and have talks with Speaker McCarthy?
Look, people have different views because negotiating with a hostage taker, and make no mistake, that's what's happening right now. Negotiating with a hostage taker is always a controversial thing, right? The Israelis don't do it with terrorists, right? We negotiated to get a basketball player back from Russia. It's always a difficult decision to choose. Now, the prudent thing to do would be to say there's so much at stake here, the stability in the capital markets, the fundamental belief in the risk-free rate of the United States Treasury, that my colleagues who believe that makes sense, are not crazy for saying so. The president takes a different view, and frankly, I take a different view too, which is our job is to negotiate. Our job is to have votes in the House and the Senate over things like eliminating the president's. This is one of the objectives of the Republicans, eliminating the president's debt, student debt relief thing. Fine, that's fine. We should debate and argue over those things and legislate. What doesn't make sense, and this is why I fall into the camp of let's just get rid of the debt ceiling because it's a dangerous instrument that has never achieved a single policy goal. I come down on the side of the Constitution, our rules, basic concepts of democracy don't say we make policy by threatening the stability of the United States economy.